Hi, I'm Jayreid, and today I'm going to talk about scapegoating in narcissistically abusive families. This will be the first in a series. Today I'd like to talk about why a narcissistic family so often has to select a child to bear the brunt of the narcissistic abuse in the family. When you think about a family headed by a narcissist, there's an immense amount of strain put on that family system. And this is because of this, to start with, the psychology of the narcissists themselves. First, this person starts with a deep sense of worthlessness about who they are, almost at an unconscious level. With that, the way they have found to cope is to, in essence, deny it. So instead of addressing that sense of worthlessness, their method is to say, no, in fact, I am better than others. I am more special. My needs, ideas, thoughts are more important. And in conjunction with that, they act in ways that coerce, influence others to reflect that artificially inflated version of who they are back to them. When that is brought into a family system, the mandate for everyone around them is to comply with that. But you can imagine it's a fragile arrangement for that narcissistic parent. To insist that you are sort of better, superior to others at all times is a recipe for lots of dips in your own sense of self-esteem, because the bumps and bruises of the world are too universal for that to always be the case. So something needs to be in place for the narcissistic parent to bulwark themselves, gird themselves against these hits, which for them feel way worse than it might for sort of a normal, say, normally adjusted individual that isn't so prone to such traumatic fluctuations in their sense of self-worth. Enter the scapegoated child. This child will be selected as the one to bear the brunt of the narcissist's unhappiness with themselves, how they're treated in the world. In essence, any crack in that veneer of being more special, more important than generally other people. I'd like to now turn to a diagram on the narcissistic family to shed some light on how this abuse operates. Okay, here's the narcissistic family system. As you can see up top, we have the narcissistic parent. He or she tends to be self-absorbed, believe their needs are more important than others, have very, very fragile self-esteem, need to feel superior at all times, possess little to no empathy, and can be motivated by cruelty. Next to them is the enabler parent or spouse. These individuals tend to be weak-willed, shy or afraid of confrontation, prone to seeking harmony at all times, often dissociative, sort of acting as if bad things are not happening when they're happening or after they're happening. Secretive, so they might throw themselves into activities outside the family where they get to sort of feel like they can indulge who they actually are. This can take the form of affairs or drug use or drinking at times, or a hobby too can become very immersive. And they often possess very critical attitudes that only get expressed at select times. Generally speaking too, these are roles played by children, and they kind of imply there's 3 children in every family. Of course there's not. But these different roles are the kinds of ways that the parents have to respond to children, in essence seeing them as either all good, the golden child, as either or inconsequential, a child for whom it is okay to ignore, that is the lost child, and finally the scapegoated child, who we're talking about today. I'm going to save the descriptions for the golden child and lost child later and really focus on the scapegoated child. Here you'll see these red arrows from the narcissistic parent and the enabler parent point to that scapegoated child. There's sort of a bidirectional arrow between the narcissistic and enabler parents, indicating sort of this fragile level of cooperation between the two, so long, I would say, that the enabler parent knows his or her place. That is to collude with and certainly not challenge the narcissistic parent's authority. The scapegoated child can become a source of shame for the parent because the child reflects back something that the narcissistic parent associates with a reflection of his or her own worthlessness. That is not who the scapegoated child is, but that child is trapped in this sort of pathological psychological system of the narcissistic parent. These kids can often be prone to protest injustice, to see unfairness when it occurs, and this family system is rife with unfairness. They are often likely to see and name the narcissistic parent's abusive tactics, and as I mentioned, they're often without fail the psychologically and emotionally strongest family members, though the way they are often goaded and gaslit can make it seem as though they are the weakest or most volatile. But what I've seen so much is that is not the case. Okay, well, with that explanation as to the why children or a child is often scapegoated in a narcissistic family, I'm going to end here today, and in the coming videos we'll talk more about how this form of abuse often occurs, what the consequences can often be, such as the beliefs that need to be adopted by the scapegoated child to just survive this type of upbringing, and lastly, and very importantly, how a survivor of this type of abuse can recover and have the kind of quality of life that they really deserve, while kind of giving credit to themselves for the grit and perseverance they showed in enduring what they had no other choice but to endure. Well, thank you. I hope everyone's having a good holiday. And just a note, going forward, I intend to post more frequent weekly videos, though they'll be a bit shorter duration, targeting the various aspects of narcissistic abuse and recovery. Take care, and I'll see you all next week.